Hey, my name's Haley Griffin. I advocate for early childhood education every single day that I show up for work. I believe that, we are the foundation of what these kids need to learn. Um, and that's like the bottom of where they eventually go in life. Um, we help these kids understand themselves. They learn how to share with their friends, they learn how to communicate with each other, and that's things that they learn before they even go to pre-K or kindergarten. Um, I have a friend that actually worked at the daycare with me for a while, and she recently just went to the primary school to go help with. She's an assistant as a pre-K teacher, and she was like, Haley, she's like, you won't believe the kids that are here that have been in childcare, and then the ones that haven't. It's a like tremendous difference about just like how they act in class, how they talk to their friends. They don't understand a lot of things because their parents didn't teach them that, which they should have, but that's like our job. I get parents being parents, but like we're in this for that reason, to help these kids learn things that they need to succeed in life. I watched a video for another class the other day, and it says even now 75% of young adults don't qualify for the military, due to education, not graduating school, not doing good in school. They can't pass the ASVABs. Um, their physical health is down. They're criminals. A lot of them end up in jail. And it said that like $1.35 billion was spent in the prison system compared to 233 million on early childhood education. Well, don't you think that if you turned that around and spent that $1 billion in early child care, that maybe you would have a better outcome for those adults? We literally are setting people up for failure. It sucks. Um, let's see. Our government should definitely fund our early childhood education better. Um, the more money you spend on them when they're younger, the better off they will be as adults. I grew up in childcare. I have been going to a daycare center since I can even remember. And I went to two separate ones because some were only good until, or I was only there till like noon. And then I went to, actually, the community college that my mom went to school at had a facility within the community college. So I got to go there while she was in class, which was awesome because she probably wouldn't be where she was at that time, if it hadn't have been for the early childhood programs allowing her to go to school. One other thing that I wanted to talk about was this week being Teacher Appreciation Week. A lot of businesses don't recognize early childhood educators as teachers. Why not? We go to school just like the rest of them. We teach kids just like the rest of them. That's one thing that has always grinded my gears. I was like, we are teachers. Just for an example, Chick-fil-A. If you have the Chick-fil-A app and you go on there and register as a teacher, you have to go through ID and Me and select your school. They only have K through 12 schools on that list. Which, why? Why can't that be changed? That's one thing that we need to work towards. That's part of advocating for early childhood educators. In our profession, we do what we do. So people will grow up to be better people. Or like these kids will grow up to be better humans. I mean, I believe I've done well for myself, and I started out in early childhood education as a child. And that's probably why I do what I do today, because I loved it. I love being with kids. All right, I'm going to stop on that, and I'll go to the discipline and behavior management policy. Kids at this age don't understand themselves to be able to even understand what timeout is. I understand like maybe a cool down moment, but they don't understand their emotions. They're feeling frustration and like anger. You shouldn't punish them for that. We're there to teach them how to understand all of that. There's a little girl that I'm going to kind of use that as an example. She's in the 4-year-old classroom at my center, and I'm in the infant room. But the 4-year-old classroom's right beside my room, and I can hear her when she throws like her fits. And it's typically because she's not getting what she wants, which she's kind of new to childcare. She didn't start in early childhood education until she was 3. She's 4 now, so she's only been in it like a year. But her home life is really bad. And I kind of know some of the back detail, like, of her mom. Like, the little girl didn't know who I was, but I knew of her mom. And actually today, this morning, I was finishing up with my kids with breakfast, and I could hear her in there screaming. So I opened my door, and I opened the classroom door to where she was, and I was like, Miss Courtney, I was like, is everything okay? Which is her teacher. And she was like, little girl's she's having a bad morning. And I could tell that Miss Courtney was getting frustrated, and I was like, do you want to come with me? And she was kicking, screaming, throwing herself on the floor, saying, no, I don't want to go with you. No, I don't want to go with you. I was like, okay, I'll give you a minute. So I had a bathroom break. I got to go to the restroom, and I came back, and I was like, do you want to go for a walk with me? Maybe talk? And she was like, like sad face, and threw her hand at me like she wanted me to take her hand. So I did. Grabbed her by her hand. I was like, come on, we're just going to go for a walk. I was like, I'll bring you right back to your classes. I just want to talk to you. And she was like, okay. So I said, where do you want to go? She was like, your room. So I bring her into my classroom, and about 9 out of 10 times, this is exactly what she wants to do. She wants to either me sit in the rocking chair and hold her, or she wants to sit on the floor, and I'll lay on the floor beside her, and we'll sit there and talk. Her mom's in and out of jail a lot, so she's being raised by her grandfather. So she's missing any kind of attention at home, positive or negative. So she'll act out to get any kind of attention. Even though it's not good attention, it's something. So I'll talk to her, and I'll say, I know you're really upset. And I was like, well, what happened? She wanted to sit beside a certain little girl. And I was like, well, she has 2 sides. Like, you sit on this side instead of on this side. And she said, well, the other teacher was sitting on the other side. I was like, I'm sure if you had asked the teacher, she would have moved. And she was like, yeah, I guess. And I was like, did you just want to come see me? And she was like, kind of. I was like, all you have to do is ask. I said, if you want to come in here and just vent to me, or just come get a hug to make you feel better, I was like, just ask. I was like, you don't have to get upset. I was like, you're too pretty to cry. And then she'd smile and she'd laugh. And then she'd be like, okay, I'm ready to go back to my room. And I'd take her back in there, and she would apologize to her teacher for her actions. And I didn't tell her she needed to. She did that on her own. But timeout wouldn't have solved anything with that situation. These children want you to understand them, and that's part of your job, is learning your children and understanding what you can do to help them or help them understand themselves. Timeout is not anything that my 12-year-old barely gets put in timeout. He gets a cool down moment. I'm like, hey, go take a walk, go take a breath, get your thoughts together, and come back and we'll have a conversation. And 9 times out of 10, it helps. But, so, timeout does not need to be used as any kind of punishment or discipline in early childhood education whatsoever. Okay, I think I have exceeded my time limit, but thank you so much for listening.